When I compare the Raspberry Pi 4 against the Raspberry Pi 3 used with quality head sound cards, I prefer the Pi 3. Now that the Raspberry Pi 5 is out, it's time to listen again. This is not a computer channel. For those interested in the fine details of the Pi 5, visit the computer site or channel. For audio people, it is good to know that the Pi 5 has at least twice the speed of the Pi 4. Depending on what it does, it can even be triple that speed. It has a quad-core Cortex A76 processor that is clocked at 2.4 GHz. Great, I hear you thinking. Well, everything comes at a price. There is a higher power consumption and thus more heat dissipation. But the real worry I have is the higher electronic noise it might generate. That might reduce the quality of both the digital and the analog signal. But there are also positives. There is a new I/O controller that takes care of controlling the SD card slot, the USB interfaces, external camera and display, the gigabit Ethernet connection and the general purpose input and output, aka GPIOs. The latter are what the DAC boards are attached to and thus are important to audio. Here speed is usually an advantage. Just like the Pi 4, the Pi 5 can be ordered with 1, 2, 4 or 8 GB of RAM. Here is an advantage over the Pi 3 that was available up to 1 GB. Using the right player software, the larger RAM opens a door to playing from RAM. And using the new PCIe 2.0 interface and an optional small interface board lets you even use an M.2 SSD instead of the microSD card. So there are pluses and minuses. But what is the balance for audio application? Last month I reviewed GentooPlayer on my Magna Mano Ultra MK3 Farad, which is a Raspberry Pi based streamer. See the link in the top right corner at the end of this video and in the description below this video on YouTube. Giving the clear sound improvement over Rupee, I decided to use this program for the review. Since GentooPlayer uses licenses that work with hardware keys, Filippo Racciopi of GentooPlayer was so nice to grant me keys for the hardware configurations I used for this test. I of course wanted to see how the Pi 5 would perform in the Magna Mano, since the new Manos now have the Pi 5 aboard. But I also wanted to see what it did with the top hat DAC board from Allo. So I ordered the Pi 5 with 4 TB, like the Mano now has, and used it to replace the Pi 3 below the Allo Katana player version 1.2 plus isolated version 1.3. I have the optimized to sound version as opposed to the measure very good version. It is a 3-board stack, one for the Katana digital to analog converter board that uses the ESS 1938 Q2M DAC chip and ultra low jitter clocks from NDK. The second board holds the analog output circuits using discrete op-amps instead of integrated circuits. Allo teamed up with Sparkos Labs for these op-amps. They run on plus and minus 15 volts, so there also is a DC to DC conversion in the shape of low dropout voltage regulators. The third board holds the microcontroller that can be set to do a number of reconstruction filters by changing dip switch settings. The fourth board is of course the Raspberry Pi. For more on the Katana stack, please watch my review. Links at the earlier mentioned places. I registered the Katana stack with both Pi 3 and Pi 5 and installed the keys. For those interested in the Katana stack, it regrettably seems that Allo has closed the web shop and stopped their Allo operations. The Katana board was mounted alternatively on the Pi 3 and Pi 5. On both Pis, GentooPlayer was installed and set up the same as Magna suggests for the Mano with Raspberry Pi 3. See the link in the description. In both cases they were powered by the S-Booster Best of Two Worlds Power and Precision Eco MK2 5V DC linear power supply. The analog outputs were connected over Grim Audio RCA cables to the Air Acoustics AX520 amplifier on Stack Audio OVA equipment isolators. It derives the PMC FAC 12 signature loudspeakers on Stack Audio OVA 70 isolators and connected over AudioQuest Robin Hood Zero loudspeaker cable. The network connection comes from the Zixel GS1900-10HP switch over the Network Acoustics Eno system Ethernet filter. From the Zixel switch, a Cat6 patch cable runs to the Ziggo Business modem router to have internet connection. A second Cat6 cable connects to the Sonic Transporter i7 CDR running Roon server. An iPad 2 was used to control Roon. All equipment was placed in a Creative Trend 3-3 rack. The difference between the Pi 3 and Pi 5 was very marginal and, to my surprise, in favor of the Pi 5. Especially sibilant sounded a tad cleaner. GentooPlayer offers the option to play from RAM. That is no option on the Pi 3 since there is too little RAM, but on the Pi 5 this is a good option. For there was yet another improvement. This time the sound came more free of the loudspeakers and was somewhat more free of stress. Small steps, but it made the Pi 5 win from the Pi 3 when combined with the Katana isolator combo. This is what started the video, the Magna Mano Ultra MK3.5 Farad based on a Raspberry Pi 5. Manufacturer Magna Hi-Fi lent me the Pi 5 version. This way I could easily compare it to the Pi 3 based version in my setup 1B. Again, GentooPlayer was installed on both versions. The sound quality of the Mano was not directly comparable with that of the Katana. First, the Mano has no DAC port, and second, it's clearly higher priced. And there is a good reason for that. It has the high quality supercapacitor Farad Super 3 linear power supply included. It also comes in a housing identical to the Farad PSU. Inside the Mano, this already very stable and clean power is further regulated by two 10-lap shunt regulators costing €40 each. Furthermore, there is a lot of filtering on board. Together it provides an extremely stable and clean power line, which is essential to keep the jitter low. See my review of the Mano using Rupee for more information. Also watch the review of the GentooPlayer done in a Mano. Links at the aforementioned places. The Mano with Pi 3 was connected to the Farad power supply. The I2's output was connected to the Holo Audio Cyan 2 DAC over a 50 cm short 4K UHD 2.0 HDMI cable. The analog outputs of the Cyan 2 were connected to the Air Acoustics AX520 amplifier on OVA EQ feed over Grim Audio SQM XLR cables. The PMC FAC 12 signature loudspeakers on Stack Audio OVA 17 isolators were connected over AudioQuest Robin Hood Zero loudspeaker cable. The connection to the Zixel GS1900-10HP switch was over the Network Acoustics Eno system Ethernet filter. Access to the internet was over the Ziggo Business modem that is connected to the Zixel over a Cat6 patch cable. Also connected to the Zixel is the Sonic Transporter i7 CDR that runs Roon server. An iPad 2 was used to control Roon. Again, all equipment was placed in the Creative Trend 3-3 rack. If there is a difference between the Mano MK3 on a Pi 3 or Pi 5, it is extremely small. I couldn't hear it anyway. Which is a clear indication that Magna has managed to keep a very good separation between the Raspberry Pi and the Mano board. Like with the Allo Katana stick, I tried the Pi 5 version with playing from RAM. That again gave a small improvement. The stereo image was slightly more detached from the speakers. You get slightly more involved in the music, but the differences are small. I was afraid the increased computational power of the Raspberry Pi would make it more difficult to use it for audio applications. And that while audio manufacturers with expertise in digital audio like Magna, Hi-Fi, Bryson and others find it the basis for building a streamer on, with the advantage that there are many software players as OEM products or, like with the Mano, as customer selectable freeware, donationware or, like GentooPlayer, very affordable software. And on that bombshell we come to the end of this video. There will be a new video next week. So subscribe to this channel or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn or Instagram to stay informed on when new videos are out. Help me reach even more people by giving this video thumbs up or link to this video on the social media. It is much appreciated. Many thanks to those viewers that support this channel financially. It keeps me independent and lets me improve the channel further. If that makes you feel like supporting my work too, the links are in the comments below this video on YouTube. I'm Hans Beekhuizen, thank you for watching and see you next week. And whatever you do, enjoy the music.